Good morning. 2 weeks ago, a woman came to me and said, "Father, please pray for my conversion. I have been wanting to change for the better, but I find it difficult to do so because I am surrounded by bad people. Every time I come home, I am greeted with shouting and fighting. My husband and I do not get along. Although I would like to change my life and become holy, I find it difficult to do so because the people around me are not holy. They are sinners like me." But I told her, "You know what? No matter where we live, no matter who surrounds us, if we really want to be holy, we can be holy." The problem with us is that we usually base our ability to become holy on the people we are with and the society we live in. We often believe that if the world we live in is sinful, then we will be sinners as well. When the world is full of lies and hatred, we have no hope of becoming holy. My dear friends, maybe some of you are angry about what is happening in the world. Some of you are frustrated by what you hear on the news. Some of you are angry with your neighbor or relatives because their political stance is different from yours. And sometimes it makes you think, what will happen to this country? What will happen to the future generation? People are lost, and we are in turn also lost in some respects. Because of this, we think that the world we live in is no longer the ideal place to live. But the question is there really an ideal place to live? How do we find the ideal place? Maybe what is ideal for us is not ideal for others. So instead of getting frustrated, instead of complaining about something that is happening in the world, instead of getting discouraged by the news we hear, let us rather focus on the essentials and keep doing what God expects of us. This is the invitation of our first reading today. If you listen carefully, Saint John had a vision of a great multitude that no one could count, dressed in white and standing before the throne and the Lamb. Then one of the elders spoke to John and said, "Who are these people dressed in white, and where do they come from?" "These are the ones who have survived the time of great distress. They have washed their robes and made them white in the blood of the Lamb." You see, this great multitude of people described in the first reading were not in an ideal situation. They were not living in a perfect world. In fact, they were struggling and suffering a lot during their earthly life. They went through great trials. Many of them lived through war, in extreme famine and poverty. Many of them were tortured for their faith. The world they live in was sinful, but they were able to turn that sinful and imperfect situation into the perfect condition to become saints. This is also the message of the Beatitudes in today's Gospel. And what do the Beatitudes say? It says, "Blessed are the poor, the hungry, the persecuted, the rejected, and those who mourn." Wait, does Jesus call the poor, the hungry, the persecuted, and those who mourn blessed? Remember that being poor, hungry, and persecuted are not perfect or ideal situations. In fact, they are far from perfect. And yet, in these imperfect situations, Jesus calls them blessed because they were able to live a life of holiness despite the imperfect conditions that they found themselves in. So my point here is this: we should not wait for the condition to be perfect and ideal to live a life of holiness, because even an imperfect condition can become a perfect situation for us to be holy. Remember this: our holiness should not depend on who we live with and where we live. Wherever we are, whatever we are doing, that is the perfect situation in which we can become holy. This is what the saints did when they were still on earth. And I hope that we will also do it, so that like them, we too can become saints. Amen.